Hello everyone, this is Dr. Pete, and looking at today, it's Friday and got a lot of good things going on. A number of veterans are going to go out to nursing homes and not only talk to veterans but start uh, giving back, so to speak. There's a new clothing program with St. Vincent de Paul, and it's just kind of neat to be able to work with other groups of people that have a passion for what they do, and then of course with a group of veterans who want to give back to veterans. And it's not to suggest that everyone should go to nursing homes, but it doesn't hurt, and someday you may be there, and it might not hurt to get out there and at least say, Merry Christmas and give them a few minutes. But also, maybe if there's some needs of them, it could be something simple as a small game, some bag candy, a few pieces of clothing. It doesn't hurt. So, anyways, it's just a real exciting day, and I just got a couple of things. Had some students talking about things, and let's talk about things like criticism or feedback and constructive feedback. And if we're being honest here, because I believe we should all be honest, people really don't like feedback. Well, more specifically, they don't like negative feedback. I don't like it, but we call it constructive because that makes it sound better. But we all like positive feedback. We like the hey Pete, you're a great guy and you're wonderful, and you did this and that. It's all perfect. Having said that, a lot of times we get constructive or negative feedback, and we don't like to hear those things. And it's normal. It's not abnormal. I don't like it. You don't like it. People really don't like it. There is a point of always having negative feedback. I think some people are, the model now is say something nice, put a lot of negative feedback, and then say something nice. Some people call it the sandwich, and you can fill in whatever descriptive word you want. But the idea here is that a lot of people, you don't always have to be negative. Sometimes you just say, you know what, that's good enough. I think a guy named Malcolm Gladwell put that in his book, Outliers. Sometimes it's good enough, and it's okay to say that. You've met the standard, it's good enough, and you move on. You don't have to be critical. But at the end of the day, we are in education, and there's things that can be done and improved. And so that kind of goes to that whole feedback thing I was talking about to a student. It is what it is. It's a process, and we're always trying to improve. So just take it for what it is. Do your work, get it done, turn it in, get one step closer to graduation. That's the key. That's the goal. Okay. But then I have checklist students, and I call them checklist students. They get a call and they say, well, I wasn't told exactly what to do. I wasn't listed off 1, 2, 3, 4 through a million. And I'm here to tell you right now, life doesn't work that way. Someone may give you the general concept, and they may give you a little bit of information, but at some point you got to think, okay, I know how to write paragraphs. I know how to organize. I know how to check for spelling and find sources. These are just normal things that don't have to be listed off every time. But having said that, if you want to call the professor and clarify things, that's wonderful. But then we have these students that sit there and they'll say, kind of like, I got you. Like, well, you said this, but let me prove you're wrong. Well, fine, you proved I'm wrong. I mean, congratulations. You want the gold star that goes with that, or you just upset somebody. So, you know what? You proved your point. Now, I'm a professional, and I sit there and go, well, whatever. I'm going to move on and just keep grading and do the best I can and improve myself. But there are a number of professors, meaning human beings, who sit there and they take that very personal. Like, well, if you can't respect me enough to just be polite about it or to point something out, then I'll take care of it in a different point. Here's an example. I know a professor who will sit there and say, that's fine, I'll give you your 10 points back. And what they do is they take 2 points off every other assignment. So you don't realize you've lost your 10 points. And so is that right or wrong? I don't know. I don't personally do it myself. But I'm letting you know that's how people see things, and that's part of these videos, is to talk about the psychology of things. Um, it's nice to ask questions. You may softly challenge people, but even like if I have a boss, I don't sit there and go in and say, well, let me throw down and see how it works, and unless I really want to throw down and it's a moral issue or an ethical issue. That's where I come from more. Is it legal, moral, and ethical? Can I live with that? But then again, I'm in a position I can live, I can make those decisions. Sometimes we're not. Like for example, in a class, maybe the professor is doing something illegal, like harassment or cursing people or something, sexual harassment. I mean, these are real issues that need to be dealt with. But there's other issues that are softer issues. Like I just don't like the fact that there's not a textbook, or it's not the textbook I like. Well, what does that have to do with the professor? So if you make complaints and they're seen as not valid, then you've really just kind of undercut your whole point. If you want to give feedback and say, I don't like this aspect of the class, and here's some examples, people tend to listen to that. But when you attack a professor and you try to say, well, or even someone at your work, well, why would you not think they'd have hard feelings, coming back at you? If you sit there and throw down and say, well, I've always done it this way and you're wrong, and then they just have to say, that's fine. If you don't want to listen, I'll just turn it in for plagiarism and I'm done. So sometimes you're getting help, you just don't realize it because the ego gets in the way, and it really hurts that relationship. So we all do it, we all have issues, whatever. But the big key is, just take that time and try to work with people. For example, I had a student say, well, you keep pushing people to other resources. Well, what am I supposed to do? If I sit there and have a resource called a library or a writing center or a tech service that can help you do all these things, I'm showing you the resources that can be used. So when you say, well, you're supposed to do that, well, yeah, I'm here to help you to figure out how do you find things. I'm not here to show you every source. Let's go to the library together and research everything together. I don't have that time. You don't really want me to do it because then I'm doing the work. You're not learning what you're supposed to. So when I hear things like that, what that means to me is a student really needs more help. They're blaming other people, and they really need to take ownership of their own issues. Yes, there are some professors that are just brutally ugly and mean, and they're not engaging, and there's a lot of issues. I totally appreciate and respect that. But for the most part, most professors are good people. I think most students are good people. But when you have a question, don't come out and spread your anxiety and depression on and start attacking people, because that's not going to help. Remember, generations talk in different terms. For example, I was in public the other day, and this woman was talking to me about how, and this other young guy said, they were saying, well, this employee's behavior was inappropriate. And I was like, well, what's inappropriate? And they said it was just inappropriate, made us feel uncomfortable, and it really went into detail. And I'm like, well, gosh, I mean, I'm an Xer, so I'm looking at these millennials going, well, that must be a serious thing if you're saying someone's done something so inappropriate. So when I get down to it, they just didn't like the way that person looked at them. So they were going to go complain to the manager of the store, who is, again, he's not an Xer, he's more of a boomer. So he's going to take it even more like, well, this must mean something. So when you make these complaints, and you got to think about what your words mean and how you engage people. So if I sit there and make a complaint about a professor and say, well, I don't like the textbook, and I don't like this, and I don't like that, and this person wasn't fair, and they abused me, and you're like, well, what does that mean? I mean, it means different things to different generations and different people, different cultures. So really take time to say, how can I resolve this issue on the lowest level possible, meaning with other students, with other professors, maybe go up the chain or whatever. But when you make that complaint, it better be one heck of a complaint, because there's going to be consequences, and meaning hard feelings, or maybe they're not as likely to help you. Or here's another classic one: if you don't like what I'm doing, we're just going to follow the rules 100%, meaning there's no flexibility. And people really do not like when the rules are applied to them 100%, because then they realize how much flexibility they were given. And so this is a long video about a lot of things, and I was trying to address multiple students' inquiries and things like that off my growing list of video requests. But I do appreciate it, and hopefully your weekend goes great, and we're getting closer to Christmas and just real exciting. So thank you, and best of luck.